are very few people in the corporate media that I actually enjoy watching, and more than just for entertainment. Well, Rachel Maddow is one of those people. She's a seasoned anchor at MSNBC who has a powerful presentation and has made some epic rants. However, she also wouldn't be where she is if she didn't serve a particular role for the establishment. And as critical as she may be of Obama from time to time, at the end of the day, she's there to promote the Democratic Party, which she does quite well by not only conducting softball interviews with prominent politicians, but by fear-mongering her audience constantly about the GOP. Now, I'm not saying that the Republican Party doesn't deserve ridicule. What I am saying is that both parties are equally complicit in the disastrous policies that are destroying this country. But recently, Maddow has gone beyond her usual partisan politics and is connecting obscure dots to make some pretty startling conclusions in the wake of the Boston bombings.
The headline, and I think also in some ways the bottom line, of the Boston Marathon bombing has been that the reason for the bombing was radical Islam, that the bombers were inspired by the online Al-Qaeda magazines. They committed the bombing for the same cockamamie conspiratorial nonsense that we've all had to become so familiar with. But if this new reporting from the BBC and the Wall Street Journal is correct, that may not have been the only conspiratorial nonsense radicalism that was at work here. I mean, really, pick your poison, right? I mean, it's the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, which Tamerlan Tsarnaev also apparently had a nice copy of. It's the Protocols of Zion, or it's 9/11 truth, or it's what Anwar al-Awlaki sold to Nidal Malik Hassan. There's always been an appeal to this necrotizing conspiracy theory radicalism, which almost always butts up against justifying violence,
Wow. So according to Maddow, conspiracy theories are almost always used as justification for violence. And the Tsarnaev brothers were not radicalized by Islam alone, but were also by conspiracy theories, namely those regarding 9/11. Of course, she forgets to mention that Dzhokhar himself allegedly said that U.S. foreign policy was the motivating factor behind the attacks, but I digress. Then Maddow compares Anwar al-Awlaki's teachings to people who aren't satisfied with the official 9/11 story. Think about how dangerous that rhetoric is for 1 second. What does it say about the 9/11 victims' family members who are unfulfilled with the investigation? What about the countless millions of people around the world who are unsatisfied with what the government told us happened and why? Or how about the groups of firefighters, architects, scientists, and world leaders who have also expressed their doubts? Should they all be flagged as potential terrorist threats too? But look, this isn't the first time Rachel has acted as an echo chamber for the government's position on 9/11. She once dedicated a whole segment on her show to promote it.
Two of the best things ever published about the 9/11 attacks are these two books. I think that was a really admirable approach to try to make widely accessible the findings of the 9/11 report. But the even better thing they did is that they published an official comic book of the same report. It's the official graphic novel, a graphic adaptation of the real 9/11 Commission report.
Awesome. Thanks for recommending the Commission report and its dumbed-down comic book version. Nothing like a cartoon to help digest the propaganda a little bit easier. But Maddow's not just selling propaganda. She's also character assassinating anyone who feels like we haven't been given the truth.
This was written specifically to take on the claims of the people who said that 9/11 didn't really happen, or that 9/11 was an inside job, that 9/11 was not actually an attack on our country, but was rather a hoax perpetrated by our government in order to enslave us or something. It didn't work. The 9/11 conspiracies have stood up to the facts disproving them. The 9/11 conspiracies have not gone away because they are too ideologically and, I think, emotionally satisfying to the people who espouse them.
Yeah, Rachel, because someone who wants the truth about why things are the way they are must believe that 9/11 either never happened, or that it was a hoax, or that the government completely engineered every facet in order to enslave humanity. Because apparently it's too hard to believe that this government would not care about the lives of human beings in order to advance geopolitical goals. Is it really too hard to believe the fact that Bush and his cabinet turned a blind eye to let the attacks happen, or even ensure that they happened? According to Maddow, it's somehow more comforting for people to accept the view that the government would allow them to die to justify war. But wait a minute. Is that exactly what she thinks?
That is why the new bombshell reporting by Kurt Eichenwald, which ran as an op-ed in today's New York Times, but is also in his new book, is so important. Mr. Eichenwald, in reporting for this new book, says it was not just that famous bin Laden determined to strike in the U.S. presidential daily briefing that the Bush administration received and ignored less than a month before 9/11, excuse me, just over a month before 9/11. It was a whole series of presidential daily briefs, all through May and June and July of 2001, all warning of a planned major strike by al-Qaeda in the United States, which then, of course, ultimately happened in September of that year. There's a responsibility to get history right for its own sake, right?
Yes, Rachel, it is. And letting 9/11 happen is making it happen. And I commend you for being critical of war, critical of many of the empire's destructive policies. But until you start asking questions about what drives these policies, you're doing nothing more than perpetuating them.